Welcome back to this life of ours. You probably know that we are a homeschooling family, and so that at lunchtime means that my ideal of having this nice home-cooked lunch every day conflicts with reality of not having the time to do that every day. Yeah, it's just not something that's going to work for our family. But as I talked about in yesterday's homeschool lunch video, I do like to be able to cook something once or twice a week. And a lot of times that means that I'm just pulling something out of the freezer that I've already pre-cooked or pre-prepped, which is usually the case. So today I thought I would show you what I'm going to make. You can see on the screen right now the list of what's going to be in today's video. Even if you're not a homeschool family, these will make great dinners and great weekend lunches. We usually end up eating sandwiches or leftovers on the weekends, but I sometimes want to have something a little nicer, a little more substantial. So these will get used on the weekends too. The only one of these that I think would pack well if you have kids who go to public school would be the pizza puffs. And you just need to finish cooking them in the morning. We will sometimes take them when we are out on the go for the day. Let's get started. Is homemade frozen pizza. I have a video on this, so I will link that. I actually made 2 of them this week. The other one's still in the freezer. Since I know that, and this is just flash frozen now, since I know that I'm going to use it in the next month, I'm just going to wrap it in the heavy duty foil. If you're going to have it in the freezer longer than that, I would wrap it in plastic wrap first and then foil. These are one of my kids' favorite things for lunches, and they're a lot, even of the frozen pizzas, we like the DiGiorno thin crust. I think a pizzeria style. And that, even on sale, the commissary is $4. So this is so much cheaper than that and just as convenient, and actually I think it tastes better. I just freeze it like that. And yeah, and then I cook it from frozen. 10 to 12 minutes or so. And yeah, so there is lunch number 1. And then another thing I do for lunches, and these are, these actually use leftovers, usually is what I do. And I just take tortillas, and whenever I have like extra chicken, and especially if I have a little bit of extra rice, I just put them in a tortilla, wrap it up, and then I put it seam down on a cookie sheet and wait until they're frozen, and then I have and then I just pop them in my bag, and then I can either cook usually I just cook from frozen, and you can either bake it or put it on like a griddle, and basically until it's warm. You can thaw it, speeds up the process a little bit. It kind of just depends on my day. This one, the green on it is pesto, because I have Italian chicken and kind of like a risotto kind of in there, and so then I just put a little bit of pesto sauce on the top for flavor and to help me distinguish what it is. This one I think has Cajun chicken and a homemade chicken rice-a-roni type dish. I also do it with ground beef, like tacos and Spanish rice type of stuff. It's a great, and then I just throw them in a bag, and it's a great way to use up leftovers and just have a quick, easy meal. Another freezer lunch idea is to freeze individual portions of soup. This is an enchilada soup with chicken, I think. All it says is enchilada soup, probably with chicken on it, or chicken in it. But this is a great single-size serving. So, and if I think about it, I can pull it out the night before or in the morning. Otherwise, I can just take this and, with the ring off and lid, pop it in the microwave for, to thaw it a little bit, and then put it on the stove. It's ready in 5-10 minutes max. We do this a lot for lunches. Enchilada soup and lasagna soup are probably the kids' favorites. I like both of those, as well as the French onion soup. So we do a lot of these for lunches. Another thing we like to keep in the freezer for lunches is buffalo wing sauce. I make it from home, but what I do is use frozen popcorn chicken, and then we add this after it's cooked, either as a dip or toss it in there. And it is really tasty and a nice way to liven up a boring popcorn chicken. I made a video about this last January or February, I forget, it was for a Super Bowl collab I did. I will link that as well. We also sometimes like to dip it in spaghetti sauce and Parmesan cheese, kind of a Parmesan chicken bake. So that, and when I make up large batches of spaghetti, I'll do it in small containers for that reason. There is another lunch idea. I just mixed this up without having pushed record. So I apologize. Anyway, like I was saying, this is I'm doing it on the stove top today. I've also done it in the oven, but it's supposed to be a crock pot recipe. So in here, you're gonna have 2 pounds of chicken, a packet of ranch dressing, and 12 ounces of buffalo sauce. I used the one that I just showed for freezing. I made a double batch and froze half, and I'm using this. But you can use your favorite store-bought one or favorite recipe. Crock pot, the recipe says 6 to 7 hours. I've never had it take more than 4 hours. But on the stove, I'm gonna cook for about 1.5 hours and then shred it. And so I'll be back when I'm done with that. The chicken has been cooking for about 1 hour, and I'm just gonna use a couple forks and shred it up. Now this has plenty of liquid in it, but if yours doesn't, then at this point you wanna add a couple tablespoons of butter and 3 to 4 ounces of buffalo sauce. That's what the original recipe calls for, but even when I've done this in the crock pot, I've not needed any more sauce. So I'm just going to finish shredding it up and then return it to the stove for about 1/2 hour. If you need to let it go longer, just turn it down as low as you can and let it keep cooking. The chicken is cooled now, and at this point you can freeze it just like this. Thaw it, warm it up, and either serve it like this, or the recipe originally calls for serving it on buns. Since I already have buns, I'm going to go ahead and freeze it the way I like to do it, because it helps me out. And that is just to go ahead and put my meat on the bun. Then I'm going to wrap this up in foil. I can cook it from frozen, and honestly it takes about 45 minutes or so. Or you can, if you thaw it even a couple hours, it'll cut down the time. I'll come down during school, pop them into the oven. Now, I can freeze it just like this, or I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of melted butter with garlic and parsley. I've also used some of the dry ranch seasoning in the butter. For lunches, I really like something to, I don't know, that feels a bit like a treat to me. And so adding this touch does. And then I'm just going to wrap it in the heavy duty foil. We will use this within the next 4 to 6 weeks. It's going to be longer than that. Again though, wrap it in plastic wrap first. If you wrap it in plastic wrap first, just remember that you did, so that you don't stick the plastic wrap in the oven. I take mine out of the oven and pop them straight keep them wrapped up and pop them straight into the oven. And I cook at about 375 or so. And again, they do take about 45 minutes to 1 hour, so you do have to plan ahead for these, unfortunately. So, buffalo ranch chicken sandwiches. One more lunch idea. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, even though we eat the same basic things, I like to have a little variety. So this is a little variety, or a little version of pizza for us. These are pizza puffs. They come from Pepper and Pine. I will link her video to show how you make them. But I wanted to talk about how I make them for the freezer. And I just cook them about halfway. Her recipe calls for 12 minutes. I cook them for about 8 minutes. Then I let them cool and transfer them to either another pan or the cutting board, anything that I can pop into the freezer. These are going to go in the freezer for about 45 minutes until they are, till you can touch the top and not get any sauce on your finger. And then I just pop them in a Ziploc bag. That way, whenever someone wants one for one of their freezer food lunch days, I can just pop it out, and not everyone has to have it, and it's just a little change. So I'm gonna go put these in the freezer, let them freeze up, and then they'll just go into a Ziploc bag. Then when I'm ready to cook them, I just take them straight out of the freezer, pop them back into the oven at 425, and they cook about 10 minutes. These also travel well, so on days that we are going someplace, such as today, I'm packing, days are lunch day out, I just put them into a container. We eat them at room temperature. So that is lunch idea, I think that's number 6. Now you're just going to need tortillas, whatever kind you like. Meat, we're using chicken today, but you can use beef or pork, whatever your preference is, and enchilada sauce. To assemble them, it's as simple as adding your meat, rolling them up. If you like cheese in it, I like to go ahead and add cheese on top of the meat. I use, about 1/4 of a cup of meat per enchilada. Maybe probably a little less, but roughly. You want to leave them seam side down, and you want to do this on some kind of a tray that you can put into the freezer. I like to freeze it either on a Silpat or a flexible cutting board so that I can peel that off of the enchiladas and not risk breaking them or risk them getting stuck to the pan. If they do get stuck to the pan, just let it sit out on the counter for a minute or so, and then you should be able to pry them off. This chicken is actually leftovers from a couple different recipes this week. I just combined them and then added some green chilies and some cumin and some garlic, a little onion. I had a little extra enchilada sauce, so I put those in there as well. Now I'm going to freeze these for about 30 minutes and then take them out. I'll peel them off and put them in a Ziploc bag. I freeze my enchilada sauce with it, kind of in the same area. If you buy your enchilada sauce, go ahead and put it on your list when you make these, and that way when you go to cook them, you won't have to remember to have purchased sauce that week. To cook these, I put them straight into the oven, frozen at 425 for about 15 to 20 minutes with sauce on top of it, and then I cover it, cook it for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then uncover it and cook for about 10 more minutes or until they're warm. There are 6 lunch ideas for you. If you have any questions about any of them, if I left out any details or something, be sure to check below or leave me a comment below so that I can answer that. All the recipes should be linked in the down bar. Yeah, thanks for watching.